Come, Jen. Come, bind it up, bind it up, bind it up. Bind it up.
In this episode, I catch up with Charles Post, the former Director of Rugby. Unfortunately, Charlie had to move back to Cape Town to be with his family. If you want to understand the context of why Charlie had to move back, please check out episode 7, which is the episode before this one. I caught up with Charlie over Zoom, and we talk about everything. How he got started in sports, how he got started in rugby, his struggles with injury, and eventually how he got into coaching. Charlie is actually the person that helped us to put this entire thing together. He's the person I pitched the idea to. And you know what? In our very first conversation, Charlie was like, "Bud, I love it. Let's go for it." So for that, I'm forever grateful, and thank you very much, Charlie, for making this entire thing happen for us. Our conversation kicks off with Charlie speaking about how he got into sports and what cultivated the love, not just for rugby, but for sports in general.
Okay, we need to play some rugby now. We're going to hold on to that ball, we're going to play. All right. Enjoy. Let's go, Jeppe.
So, funny fact, I was actually the first person to go from Saints from grade 0 to post-matric. I was my parents. My dad was absolutely obsessed with rugby.
Okay.
Western Province fan through and through. And I mean, we were spoilt. They were always training, my parents, like at the gym or running or doing something, and then they would make sure we would join in, or we would have a trainer, or my dad and my grandfather, to be honest. He would also, I mean, I was also a cricketer. He would hit a ball to me or kick a ball with me every evening. So lucky, I was in the family, and we also had a whole bunch of cousins. We were all very close, so we were playing sport all the time. But I was always throwing a rugby ball around at home. And also with my little brother, who's actually bigger than me. I mean, we were always tackling each other in the garden. And so I had a rugby ball in my hand since probably I could walk, but unfortunately didn't get to actually play real matches till standard 6, grade 8, till I was, 13, 14 years old. Like, off the top of my head, kicking points to beat A Season under 15, kicking the winning conversion, kicked those points, ball landed in my dad's arms behind the poles, wow, which was quite funny. Yeah.
That's cool.
My best mate scored the try. I don't know if you remember Paul Betts.
Yeah.
He scored the try, and then I kicked the conversion. That's a good memory at under 15. Under 16 was just an awesome year of rugby. I still remember my coach so well, Dave Pitcairn, who often you remember your coaches that influence you, and he was a big influence on me. I think he was also my physics teacher, but I don't remember much physics. So the under 16 was a fun year of rugby. I think it's always known as one of the funner years of rugby. And then obviously the bad memories were I was out the whole of my grade 11 year, standard 9 year with injury and sickness. So I think I only got to play. Well, I got my first cap, but only right at the end of the season. So I got to wear the first team jersey. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, my first cap was against Monument, and we beat Monument for the first and only time in Saints history. But I do remember going onto the field that day and got rounded so quickly by Yuri Miller, who would become a Springbok.
Yeah.
But he just went around me, and I was like, what happened?
Yeah.
Anyway, a few minutes later, a few minutes later, I got an intercept, popped it up to Dean, and he went under the poles to win that game. That was a nice memory, but that year was tough for me. It was very challenging because I was out the whole year. But coming back and getting that cap, I think, was a great moment. And then the matric year, obviously, we had a really good team, so that was very cool. I think we had. I remember doing the stats the other day, and I think we're the second best team in the Saints history, I think, just about. So we had a fabulous year that year. It was a lot of fun. And then my post-matric year was also awesome because I got to play with my brother.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's cool.
that was very cool. We got to play, and it was a good year. The team was a lot smaller than the year before because it was all my grade 11 mostly, and then a couple of us post-matrics. But yeah, I mean, I think another highlight, beating Pretoria boys. I remember Zama had a blinder of a game at Sean Siliga. saved us. I think we were 18-5 down or something, and he just switched on and we came back to take that one.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was a
my
home
trick,
game.
yeah.
Yeah. I remember
Home
that
game.
one.
I think Kevin also had a blinder that day. He was a machine always. I was obsessed with rugby. I went to varsity to play rugby. I had to study as a side gig. I don't regret it at all. I'm so glad I did study, obviously. And I tell all the kids that now, you've got to get that degree behind you while you're trying to pursue your dream, because I ended up failing, and not making it. And luckily enough, I did have, a degree behind me. But no, I came down here to UCT, and then, you get an eye opener, because you go from being a schoolboy hero to just another number, and then you're going out to Strand or, Kales Rivier or something like that, and you're playing and no one's watching and no one really cares besides maybe one or two mates or your dad or something like that. And it's a big adjustment, but we kept going. And then luckily enough, I went over to New Zealand to an academy over there just to do a few weeks. And then they asked me to come back. So I went semi-pro over there, playing for a club and being part of the Maori Rugby Academy.
Okay.
But as I got going, I broke my leg. Yeah, broke my leg and tore my knee ligaments and was out for a year. So came back home and spent that year just rehabbing and studying. And that was hard, that was very difficult to not be able to play for a year. And that's, and then these are the lessons I've learned that I pass on to the kids now, guys, you just keep studying, keep getting that degree, and you can rehab and come back and it still might happen, but it might not, I came back from that injury and 2 games in, tore a shoulder tendon, and then was out for another 6 months. So it can be flipping tough. And especially if you haven't made it yet. I think, if you've made it and you're in the system and they're looking after you and you're there, then you keep motivated, because you probably, I don't know, but I look at the likes of like a Jean de Villiers. I think he had a similar thing where he got injured really badly twice, but he was already a Springbok. So, you're kind of there. But when you're not, and this is most guys, and you get injured and you're out for a year, you've got to motivate yourself and keep yourself going. And it's tough. Yeah. So, I mean, I gave it a go, I gave it everything. I look back and probably could have done things differently here or there, but I didn't make it and ended up getting into coaching. I think I was chatting with Dave Vessels, actually. And he had got into school coaching and he was slowly making his way up the ranks. And he got me into, he said, no, he started at Rondebosch. I should just go try. And I wanted to, I think I was playing socially still, but wanted to get involved differently in the game. So then, I went to Rondebosch and they gave me a job with the under 14s. And I had a year coaching there and just loved it. Okay. So it was just kind of naturally happened. It wasn't something I pursued or was like, I want to be a coach. It was just kind of happened. And then I became a coach, and slowly but surely the stuff I'd learned over all the years, plus my degree, started to aid me in becoming a better and better coach, and moved my way through the ranks at Rondebosch. It was a great home for me for a long time and I loved it there.
Yeah.
Eventually worked my way up to coach their first team for a few years, and always had a connection with Saints, because when they were struggling or whatever, I always contacted them to see if they needed any help or help with coaching or whatever way I could help. So I'd done 1 or 2 sessions with them before. So I contacted them and said, I'm coming back up and can I help? And the coach at the time said, definitely, we need a defense coach. Can you come join us? And that's how I started at Saints. My first year was going to be the defense coach, and that was COVID. The focus is supposed to be week by week, you know, next game, and you just got to keep focusing on those games. The hard part is thinking, oh wow, we've done so well, we could win X, Y, Z, the next one and the next one and the next one, and you look too far ahead. And in hindsight, that could have been an issue with us, with me as a coach, looking too far ahead and not focusing on just week by week. So I think the right way, and what we were trying to do, is just let's focus on the next game. Let's just get these little things right this week, get a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better, and we'll keep, you know, the wins should come if you're doing that. But the distraction is, oh wow, look how good we've been.
Yeah.
And we could possibly achieve that by the end of the season.
I got injured in the second game against Run Park. 2 ligaments in my ankle, grade 2. Stepping inside, and then when I stepped, I twisted it, and then someone fell on it that made the ligament slip. It was probably one of the worst pains I've ever experienced in my life.
You have to do it as a team, and it's something that I'm trying to do better and better. But as the coach and the other coaches and your physios and your doctors and everyone and your conditioning guys who are rehabbing him, you know, you've got to all be on the same page and giving him the same message of it's a long, hard road, but we're all here for you and we had to help and we're going to get you back.
Yeah.
You know, at the same time speaking to him, making sure he's in a good space. And you'd have to speak to him to see whether we did that well enough, and actually supported him well enough. But you know, that's what we're trying to do. You know,
I know I'm injury prone. I know that for a fact. But obviously, when like I re-injured the same thing, that's when like, okay, just make sure it doesn't happen. Just make sure it doesn't happen. But then if I get injured once off and that injury never happens again, then obviously like I don't think it's gonna happen again. So I just play my game.
And T being in the boarding house, he's always got his finger on the pulse of how the guys are feeling there and if they're managing. And I think that's what's so important about schools, is having a connection to the school, and seeing the boys a lot so you can see where they are at mentally. So, I mean, you just keep positive, you know, sometimes it happens to the best of us, or whoever it is, you know. There's stories. I use Dan Carter a lot, or Jean de Villiers a lot as examples of these things, and the guys keep coming back, and they come back stronger, and stronger and stronger. It's really nice to read their books as well. You know, I think it was Kia, you know, Dan Carter's book, just to be like, when he was injured, you know, just have a read of that and see what other guys have been through, the best in the world, you know. So it happens to everyone, and if you stay positive, stay motivated, you can come back, and you can come back stronger. It's just so hard, but you've got to do it as a team, I think, you know, and just get everyone on the same page and keep the boys motivated. Whether it's me, whether it's Teresa, whether it's the physio, whether it's Paulie, the conditioning guy, you know, we all just on the same page, keeping the guys positive.
I feel more, a bit more confident, because like I said, we had a chat the other day, and he was telling me and motivating me. So I think it really helped a lot.
Dude, I wish I knew. I wish I knew, because I suppose they got it right this year. You know, last year, well, we got the win last year, but I think the guys just were overwhelmed by the occasion on the Saturday, so didn't play the rugby they were capable of playing. But maybe it's just experience, because most of those guys played last year and they played again this year, and yet they managed to stick to the game plan this year, keep their heads, and have a win over Michaelos, which is unbelievable for Saints. So it could be experience, but you know, if I find that answer consistently, to know how to not lose your cool with a crowd like that and people like that, I'll come and tell you, because I'm still figuring it out myself, to try and get guys to just focus on your job, just your little things. What do you got to do today is it's difficult when there's that crowd there. Even, for us as coaches. Well, I mean, we plan that way in advance. So we've seen our fixtures. We know what they are, like even before the beginning of the year, probably. So then we plan our whole program around that, as well as from an academic perspective. So obviously T, with the connection to the school, knows what are they writing, what are their exams look like, what does their timing look like around that time. And we then also do the conditioning program to know that we're not peaking at festival, we're actually peaking at Jeppe. And because then they got a holiday afterwards. So poorly, plan meticulously that we peak for Jeppe.
Now, to go to Jeppe now, we obviously don't want to make it easy for them. So in terms of the preparation leading up to that game, obviously we'll give them the recovery on Monday, but then we'll have them back onto the field and then into their gym training as well. So we'll just drop their gym sessions down to twice a week right now, leading up to that, and just keep the boys as motivated as possible through video and just going through our pattern and structure.
So yes, we've got festival, and we're going to be at our top for that, but we're going to be even better the week after. So the rest periods, the monitoring of the GPS systems and how much load the guys had during Fest, how much they'd played, is all monitored. It's quite professional. So it's a combination of having a look at the academic side that T looks at, and then Paulie look at the conditioning side, and then we look at the game side and who we're playing and all of that, and then I've got to put all of that together and then make sure that we peak at the right times. And if you look at how we went there, I think all of us together did a great job, and we did have although we lost to Jeppe, the boys played out of their boots.
Yep.
For me, that loss was one of our best performances. If you can come away with a loss and still be happy with what your boys have done, and that's just that's a sign of great character.
Yeah.
And so I think the planning did work, and we did peak there. They were just better. They're an unbelievable rugby school and rugby side, and they were just better. We got beaten by a better team. Absolutely. And I think that's the thing that makes it harder and it always is, with expectation, Parktown were having a pretty poor season. So you go in, and I think that's where the guys, to get them up for that is difficult, because they think they're just going to take it.
We're playing into their hands by playing round the ruck, trying to pick it and go. We get a bit wider. As soon as Josh gets a ball out wide, we're breaking them out there. But then we have to look after those edge rucks and look to play each other on the edges like we practiced all week.
But at the same time, we're also missing, one of our superstars. Although Josh, he stepped up at 10 and was brilliant, it's hard to replace Chris. And you only look at that afterwards and you're like, we missed him. The same at the end of the season when he went off in the St. John's game. He's a proper player. He's playing Western Province under 19 now, so it's the kind of talent he is. But I think, it was that expectation of we should win these games to then not, that makes them more disappointed. Whereas Jeppe is like, guys, we've got an opportunity to play one of the best schools in the country. If we take this, it's unbelievable, but just give everything, and you did.
You guys are finally back to playing rugby like back in the day. That's number 5 in the country. Thank you for just honouring that jersey.
So the disappointment, I don't think, is as much losing that game as those Parktown and St. David's games, where I think, Parktown was just, we were beaten and it wasn't great, but St. David's we threw away. That was the hard thing. And it was all the superstar, the really good guys that when the chips are down, and I had to have a conversation with them afterwards, when the chips are down, your superstar should be standing up. And when the chips were down, all my superstars were down. And that's where it went horribly wrong, and it really got to me. And I had to speak to them afterwards. It's like, guys, you guys are the ones who want to play professional rugby or play Varsity Cup. Yet, when we were at our lowest point, it's you guys lying on the ground with your heads down. So how can I back you and go and say good things about you guys to the coaches at Varsity if you're not going to stand up when the chips are down? And they were all like, oh, like it was a realization for them. Oh, crap, like it's us. Because those are your leaders, those are the guys that got to step up when things are down. Anyway, those ones were very difficult to take,
Disappointed. Very disappointed. Yeah. Don't have any other words. That's pretty much it. Not a game we should be losing.
Why? Bro, we were asking those guys. MC, that's wrong? Why?
It's just yours, man. It's in my bag.
Yeah, it'll take a while to get over that, to be honest. Because of that word expectation, man. The expectations there to run away with that, especially the way we were playing against the Davids. I mean, if you look at that game and you're watching the game, you think we're like 50 up because of how we're running and passing and just playing awesome rugby.
Yeah.
But we're doing all of that, but weren't getting over the line. So it looks fantastic, but you haven't finished, But we were playing such nice rugby, and then you end up losing. And also credit to St. David's. I mean, they've also done well. Last year they had a fantastic team, and they did really well to beat us. That's, I think, was one of their best teams they've had. But I mean, their program as well, if you look at it throughout the age groups, every game, and this is what we wanted for the private schools, besides the first team game, every game's close, It's 1 point, 2 points, which is great. It makes for an exciting Saturday. Same with St. John's. We're back to competing, whereas when I started at Saints, it was, I think, almost every team losing. So we've changed that, which is great. It's strange, because before the game, you always feel like, I don't know, I feel like they're there and they're ready. And, with the dads in the change room, like, the guys seem motivated. And they seemed ready. Like, you don't go in. I wouldn't have taken them out there if they weren't ready. So, again, the expectation was we could take them on. And we had every chance of taking them on and winning that game. So, to fall apart the way we did, it was hard to take, And for me personally, it was one of my lower points because I also, I lost it a bit because of one or two guys not putting in their full effort, and I'm all fine to lose. Like I said, that Jeppe game, fine if you put in all your effort.
If we hit the breakdowns, we've got it. We are not giving AP clean ball, and then he can't give back clean ball, and then everything's slow, and then we can't play rugby. Okay? This is how simple we play. We play into a vacuum, don't we? Okay, 4, 5, and 7, or the first 3 forwards run around the corner, don't they?
Yes, sir.
So that's all I need to see. If they're running around as fast as they can and you're going together in threes, we won't get turned over again. So vacuum, round the corner, from there back can strike. Okay, if it's not on, then we can play our fire. So keep working towards that corner, round the corner, round the corner. But we have to work together, guys. If I see another one-off runner, AP, you can't play them. Okay, we can't play the one-off runners. We've got to slow everything down there. And then when we're picking and going, we've got to hit each other on the breakdown. It is all about the breakdown. If we win the breakdown in the second half, we win the game. And that's a physical battle.
I mean, I wish I could take it back and not go scream and shout, but I scream and shout at a few of the guys because of that lack of effort. And it was missing, and that's what happens. You get whatever many points, 50 points, if you don't put effort, full effort in.
Yeah.
No energy, it's going through the motions, which is absolutely not a reflection of how my team is. So, yeah, gutted. And not gutted because we lost, but how we lost. It's just...
Yeah, that year was definitely one of the hardest of my life. I mean, harder than the rugby injuries, harder than anything. Particularly because what everyone didn't see is what my wife was going through down here, with looking after our daughter by herself. But at the same time, she had been really ill. Then she had to have neck surgery, disc fusion on her neck.
Sure.
Which puts you out of, you can't do anything for quite a while. She was training to run a half marathon, to run the 2 oceans, and this injury happened just before. So mentally and physically, she's in a horrible space, and I can't be there for it. But she knows I've got to be there for these boys, and particularly the scholarship boys who've come in, who we've committed to looking after. So yeah, listen, it was flipping hard. You take a toll, and the relationship takes a toll. But we made it through, and I'm here, and our relationship's stronger. You know, I think it's anything in life. You go through hard times, you're either going to fall apart or things are going to get stronger. And you know, I feel like our relationship's a lot stronger now. But it was very, very difficult, and hence why, like, I wanted them in that change room, and just wanted all the boys to be able to say thank you as well, and us to be able to say thank you, because she sacrificed a lot for me to be there with the guys, you know.
I felt pertinent to ask, obviously, our big boss who's led us for the past 3 years, to come and do Jersey handover. I think Charlie's given his all. I think he's sacrificed, his family sacrificed. That is why we invited his wife and child in that change room.
And it was awesome to have her there. You know, it was great. And now, like, you know, I still find her here watching. She'll be on SuperSport Schools watching the Saints games while I'm out at Wynberg coaching my team now. So she now, you know, it's given Bron, like, also, you know, ignited her kind of enthusiasm to watch the Saints boys still. And she's like, "Oh, SJ had such a good game today," or whatever, you know. So yeah, I took a little step back in the coaching, and I've gone down to under 16, and I'm coaching the under 16As at Wynberg, which is flipping awesome. It's very different, and I'm part of the Wynberg program. Under Nick Groom is the director there, and they've got some lovely coaches and good people. Dave Mallett's there. I worked with him at Bishop's a few years back, so really good people, and I'm enjoying it there. But while I've been doing that, myself and my business partner, Chris Ekron, who's the head of athletic development and systems at Bishop's, have developed this program, well, our business, Playbook Education, Playbook Ed, which we, you know, after being involved in the school environment, particularly with scholarship boys in that, there's so much room to assist these student athletes. So we have gone about, we had conversation. We've been working on this for a long, long time. But how do you best support student athletes, you know, in a holistic way, and to try and get coaches and teachers and parents and everyone to understand that there's a system of not just this boys playing sport, you know, like you were saying earlier, there's a whole academic side. There's a spiritual side. There's a psychological side. So we call it the 4 pillars, you know, the academic, the social, the psychological, and the physical. And, you know, you've got to look at all of those aspects. So, and make sure that all the role players, so the coach, the teacher, the parent, the physio, whoever they are all talking to each other to make sure that they're making the best decisions for the student athlete. Now, how do you do that? You've got to educate the role players. So you've got to coach coaches. You've got to teach parents, you know. So we're offering these courses and conferences and things like that to all the different role players involved in student athletes' lives to hopefully, you know, eventually just develop better people, you know, better student athletes. And I mean, that's my whole goal in life, is just to develop better people through sport.